Air Groove, she is a great filly. She won the Oaks and also won the Tenno Show Autumn despite being a mare. There existed a horse of her age who had tremendous potential. The horse's name is Fabulous La Fouine. I don't think she has much of a name recognition. This is probably because she has only 7 races in her racing career. However, she was a girl genius. In this video, I will talk about her. Now, I'd like to explain, again with eating Japanese snacks. Fabulous La Fouine is a 1993-born female horse. Her father is Fabulous Dancer and her mother is Mercall. Those are bloodlines that are unfamiliar in Japan. Fabulous La Fouine was born in France and imported to Japan. Because of her foreign birth, she was ineligible to compete in classic races under the rules of the time. In 1996, when she was 3 years old, the NHK Cup, a Derby trial race, was upgraded to Grade 1 and the name was changed to the NHK Mile Cup. Thus, the NHK Mile Cup, another Derby-like race, was established for foreign-born horses and horses with aptitude for shorter distances. Fabulous La Fouine also cannot compete in the Oka Show or the Oaks, so she set her sights on this new race. Her debut came late, in February 1996, when she was 3 years old. This race was 1,200 meters on dirt, and she easily got out ahead of the field and opened a gap between herself and the rest of the field. She easily won her debut race by 7 lengths. She did the same in the next race on the turf, breaking away and winning easily by 5 lengths from the rest of the field. And for her next race, she chose the Grade 2 New Zealand Trophy as a prelude to the NHK Mile Cup. There were several male horses in the race that had already won graded races, but this girl prodigy was favored as the favorite over them. She took the lead right from the start and went straight into the final stretch. The final stretch of the Tokyo course is long, which is a disadvantage for horses in front, but she does not allow horses coming from behind to close in on her. She held a sufficient lead, and she went straight to the front to finish first and win her first graded race. Her unfathomable ability was expected, and she was the favorite in the NHK Mile Cup, which had just been established that year. But the race turned out to be tough for her. She and Bamboo Pino were in the lead, and Bamboo Pino set a tremendously fast pace of 56.7 seconds for the first 1,000 meters. Fabulous La Fouine took the lead in the final stretch, but the high pace of the first half of the race had sapped her stamina considerably, and she was limited to the last 300 meters to the finish. She was beaten badly, finishing in 14th place, and the girl genius suffered her first setback. She went straight to Shuka Show in the fall after this. Shuka Show is the last race in the Triple T era. Only Oka Show and Oaks were ineligible for the foreign-born, and she was eligible to compete in Shuka Show. Until the previous year, the last race of the Triple T era was the Queen Elizabeth Cup, but the rules of the Queen Elizabeth Cup were changed so that horses 4 years old and up could also compete, making it literally the race to determine the Queen. The Shuka Show was newly established to replace the Queen Elizabeth Cup. Let's take a look back at Oka Show and the Oaks this year. Air Groove was well received as a 2-year-old and she was seen as the star of the classic races. Naturally, she would have been a strong contender in Oka Show, but she retired from the race due to a fever. Fight Gulliver won Oka Show in the absence of Air Groove. Air Groove later recovered her health and ran in the Oaks. Air Groove lived up to expectations and won the Oaks. Fight Gulliver was concerned about the 2,400-meter distance, but came in second. However, Fight Gulliver did not compete in Shuka Show due to flexor tendonitis after the Shuka Show preliminaries. Air Groove also cancelled his scheduled trial race due to illness and went straight to Shuka Show. Additionally, in the paddock on the day of Shuka Show's race, Air Groove was startled by a camera flash, leaving her in no condition to concentrate on her race. Fabulous La Fouine was the fifth favorite on Shuka Show race day. After her crushing defeat in the NHK Mile Cup, fans seemed to have lowered their opinion of her. The race started and she was ahead as usual. Air Groove was the race's main contender, but her jockey whipped her early in the third turn. She was not responding well. It would turn out after the race that she had broken her leg during the race. Fabulous La Fouine broke away in the final stretch to take the lead. She then beat out the rest of the field to be crowned the first Shuka Show champion. Her time was 1 minute 58.1 seconds. This was just 0.1 second short of the 2,000-meter record time for the Kyoto course. Her next race was the Japan Cup. There are not that many 3-year-old female horses challenging for the Japan Cup. This is because in this race, which attracts the best horses in the world, these girls have a tough race ahead of them. Among the splendid horses that came to Japan that year were Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe winner Helicio and Singspiel, who had repeatedly run well in races all over the world. Japanese horses competing included Bubblegum Fellow, who won the Tenno Show Autumn despite being only 3 years old, and Dance Partner, who is Oaks winner the previous year. Fabulous La Fouine was seen as inferior in this group, but she is inspired. She was in the lead pack and as they entered the final stretch, she fought for the lead alongside Singspiel. They stayed side by side and kept up a dead heat for more than 300 meters, finishing side by side. The winner, however, was Singspiel. Fabulous La Fouine was a really close second. Despite the loss, this run by her was very impressive. She also competed in Arima Kinen. Her run in the Japan Cup was highly regarded and she was the fourth favorite. She was ahead as usual, but stalled in the final stretch and lost 10th place. Although she lost in the Arima Kinen, she was very highly regarded and was voted the best 3-year-old filly of the year. But her racing career ends here. She was injured and had to retire. Her record is 4 wins in 7 races. She became a broodmare and Gustav Krei, born in 2008, won the Hanshin Grand Prize. And about a year after this Hanshin Grand Prize, she passed away in May 2013. She was 20 years old. Rest in peace. That's all for this time. If you want to know more about Japanese horses, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.